Welcome to another Friday Night Restoration. And yes, tonight I will be tackling the Freed-Eisemann Educator Radio, because one of my YouTube friends actually had the schematic and was kind enough to send me a copy. Let's take a closer look at it. Okay, here's what I've been able to figure out so far. Got the AC power coming in here, fuse, power switch, and filter cap. I don't know why they would put these on the AC side, because that means it's always connected to the line even when the set's turned off. So I may relocate that to the other side of the switch. Got power transformer, 6.3 volts applied to all the tubes, rectifier, filter cap, speaker field coil, filter cap, and so on for the power supply. Now, as for the RF, they did a pretty nice job with this design, I think, and they kept the AM and FM fairly separate, so it's not too hard to figure out, I think. So let's do the FM side first. Here's the antenna input. You can either use an external, or they actually pick off a signal from the AC line cord. Follow this wire down, it goes through a 100 picofarad cap right to the plug. We got a antenna tuning coil and variable cap here, then a 6AG5 RF amp, and a 6C4 local oscillator, and another 6AG5 for mixer or converter, and 10.7 megahertz IF, an IF amplifier, another IF amplifier, a couple limiters feeding a 6T8 discriminator, and then this 6L6 audio output tube driving the speaker. As for the AM side, separate loop antenna, comes over to a 6SA7 combination converter oscillator. Here's the oscillator control for that. And then that feeds into a separate 455 kilohertz IF. And they use the same IF tube after that. Another IF transformer, and then that goes into the 6T8, which does double duty as both a discriminator for the FM and a detector for the AM. And here's the I tube, which somehow feeds in to detect the signal strength on both the AM and FM. So that's the basics of it. There are a few things I'm a little curious about. For example, off of the speaker, there's a signal that comes back into the cathode of the 6T8. It seems to form some sort of feedback. Unfortunately, there are some notes missing from the schematic. There are circles with letters A, B, C, D, but I don't have the corresponding notes to know what those are. I've got one here, and there's the B, and there's the C, and then the D is on that feedback. So I'd be really curious to know what those are referring to. But I'll just go off the schematic and we'll see how it works out. So next step is I gotta pull the chassis back out of the set and clear some space on the workbench. I pulled out the radio chassis and speaker. Happy to see the speaker's in fine condition, no tears in the cone. First thing I want to do is make sure there aren't any serious problems. By serious, I mean the speaker being bad or the power transformer being bad. Either one of those would derail this project for the time being. So first up, I want to check the field coil on the speaker and the output transformer as well, which is mounted right to the frame. Unfortunately, they don't tell you which lead is which on a schematic, so I'm going to have to kind of try to figure that out. The wires are subtly different colors, but it's really hard to tell after all this time. So, let's see. Well, I guess one thing I can do is I can look at the connector underneath the chassis and see what's going to work. Filter choke should be fairly, or rather the fuel coil, which works as a filter choke, should be fairly straightforward, because either side is going to go to these two filter caps. So whatever goes to this and this, in fact, whatever goes to this and this rather should be the fuel coil on the speaker. So let's see. I just realized one side of the output transformer actually connects to the fuel coil. So the center pin is the one that's common to both of these, and the one just to the right is the output transformer. So get these clips back on here, and alright, 440 ohms, that seems reasonable as well. Alright, so I think the speaker's alright. So that leaves the power transformer. One thing we can check is the fuse. The fuse looks good. We'll check that. Yep, fuse is good. If the fuse was blown, that would be mighty suspicious that there's something more serious wrong. I also noticed that these caps are replacements. The original would have been a 20 and a 30, and these are both 40s. I'm not sure if there's a date on them, but there is a decent chance that those actually might still be okay. Anyways, to check the power transformer, what I want to do is pull out a rectifier tube, which is wrong anyways. If you recall from the earlier video, somebody stuck a 5Y3 in here, but it should be a 5U4. So with that out of the circuit, what should happen is all the tubes will get filament juice, and there will be no high voltage going, so I don't have to worry about caps shorting out or melting it down or catching on fire or anything. And then what I can do is I can actually put the meter probes right into the 5U4 socket, and between these two pins I should get 5 volts for the filament, and between these two pins I should get the full secondary voltage, which probably should be somewhere 5 to 700 volts, something like that, I'm guessing. Okay, I've got a 150 watt light bulb in series with the AC line, and I've got my AC meter probes on the plates where the 5U4 rectifier would be, so we should see the full secondary voltage on the meter. And I'll be watching these tubes to see if they light up. Obviously we can't see the metal tubes, so maybe I'll be watching this 6L6G. And alright, here goes. Pilot light came on, it's a good sign. Got 675 volts on the secondary, which is in my guesstimation range, I believe. And the tubes are lighting up. Alright. Looks like all systems are go to start recapping. The recapping is progressing fine so far. Here are my 2 new filter caps, and I've replaced a few of the paper caps up in here. Then I got to this guy, which is cracking open. And what is this? It's that capacitor right on the AC line going to ground. That should be a safety cap, which is a capacitor designed to go on the AC line and designed to fail safely if it ever was to fail, meaning it won't burst into flames or explode or anything. But what did these guys use? One of the crappiest types of capacitors ever devised. It's a mica mold. Really high failure rate on these, and this one has or is about to explode. So it has got to go. Now I don't happen to have any 0.05 microfarad safety caps on hand. I think I just have some 0.015s. I could put one of those in, or I could leave it on entirely, because it's really just there to potentially filter out some noise on the AC line. It's not going to prevent the radio from operating. I could also temporarily use a .047 rated at 600 volts that I have a bunch of, but I think I'll just leave it out entirely, and next time I order some parts, I'll make a note to pick one of these up of a proper type. There are two types, type X that go across the AC line, like from one side to the other, and type Y go from one side to ground. So this should be a type Y safety capacitor. Alright, I think I'm done with the recap. Turns out there weren't all that many paper caps, so I just went ahead and replaced all of them before I even bothered trying to power it up. And let's see, just hunting around to see if there's any more hiding anywhere. They look like all that's left are mica caps. Alright, and I did just cut out that nasty old cap that was down in there. Alright, cool. I think we are ready for a power up. Checked all the tubes, and they all checked just fine. I have installed a 5U4 rectifier. Get all these old nasty caps out of the way. And let's see, I guess I'll leave this on its side and get a voltmeter down in there so I can monitor the high voltage on these caps as the set warms up. I'll also be protected by the built-in fuse, and I'll use a 75-watt bulb in series like I had before. Oh, and I will need to connect up the speaker, because without that field coil, no juice is going to get through to the set. And it just plugs down in here. Okay, I've got my voltmeter hooked up to this point right here, which should be the highest potential in the set. I have it plugged in through the 75-watt bulb again, just in case anything goes horribly wrong. And here we go. To get signed, the pilot light came on, the bulb lit up and then dimmed down. So we're about 400 volts. Nothing smoking or popping or anything like that. Voltage is dropping down as the tubes start conducting. That's typical. I hear some noise coming out of the speaker. Let's turn the volume up a bit. Volume control's a little scratchy, but not too bad. Looks like we're settling in around 180 volts. Maybe a little, well, not dropping down. It's still warming up. Getting down to 170. Now I imagine that 75-watt bulb, which is lit up pretty good, is starving this set of some juice. Well, that's alright, I would expect we can still get some sound out of it. There's an AM mode and an FM mode. I don't have the AM loop antenna, so I wouldn't expect to get anything out of that. But on the FM band, I would expect to get something. Oh, there's something. I bet I'm in the FM band right now. This is the band switch. I'm not sure which position is which. I don't have the cabinet, so I don't have the labels on it. We got nothing here. This is probably the AM band. There's something. Got the volume cranked up 100%. See if I touch the antenna terminals. Really not much difference. In fact, it seems to have just died altogether. There's something. It's kind of weird. There's kind of a station there. If I flip over, and it disappears. Let's try that again. I'm pretty sure this is the AM band. When I flip to FM, Huh, and it fades away and disappears. That's weird. Try tuning around. I got nothing on this side of the band. This would be the upper frequencies. Go back to AM for a moment.
The 99 is the newest edition of our all-time best-selling running shoe. It's made in the USA, comes in 5 widths for a custom fit, and than ever. New Balance shoes are a treat.
Alright, there's something. Go back to the other band. Just plays for a moment and then craps out. Just keep going. Oh, there's something. It's kind of fading away. So it's very sensitive to where I'm positioning myself. Oh, I see. It gets louder when I reach for the tuning note. Okay, we definitely have some stations around here, and this is definitely the FM band. I'm a little rusty on FM stations, I must admit. I know there's been some consolidation and some classic stations are gone. I think we still have 93.1 WXRT playing music and 97.9 The Loop playing music, but I think 94.7, 95.5, Q101, 105.9 WCKG, I think those are all being gobbled up and then doing simulcast with AM stations or switched formats or whatnot. Well, there's still some music out there. I missed the call letter, so I'm not sure what station this is.
15,000.
Huh, but if I get to the eye tube and right of that, there's nothing. That's really weird. Well, I can think of a couple things. One, let's check on the antenna situation, and two, now that it seems to be working alright without anything shorting out, I can probably plug it straight into the AC line. It does have the built-in fuse for protection. Because with that light bulb lighting up like that, it's definitely reducing the voltage to the set. Because I think it was settling down to 150 volts, that seems a bit low. Alright, now as for the antenna, as I mentioned before, I think you can use the line cord as an FM antenna. There's that show on the schematic here. But to do that, you need to have these two terminals connected together, I guess. Let's check a look at the back of the set. Okay, ground screw's gone. Got the antenna on this. Okay, so this must be that short and it's not connected, so it's probably basically has no antenna now, which can't be helping matters any. So let's get that taken care of. If you want to use an external antenna, I think you would separate these two and have one side go to ground and one side to the A there. Like one of those T antennas you get with modern FM receivers. Okay, and let's see, I'll plug this sucker straight into the outlet. Voltmeter hooked back up too, because I'm curious to see what the voltage is going to be now. Right. Oh, shut up a lot higher this time. Like 575 for a moment. is. A lot louder too. I have the volume all the way down and I can still hear some sound. Alright, looks like we're slowing down to around 290. That's more what I was expecting. That's almost double the 150 we were at before. Oh, and the eye-tube is lit up now. Cool. Sounding a lot better too. Hey, and I can tune to the right of the eye-tube. Here's a better look at the eye-tube action. It seems when the eye is at the narrowest, that's when you're tuned on a station. See if I can get this light bulb disabled temporarily. There we go. Well, let's see what this thing can do. Okay, I got the radio set right side up. Should sound a little better like this. Or not. I see. The cone is actually separating a bit from the frame. I bet when it's mounted in the case, that's not really an issue so much. See if I can clamp that down with some. I used a couple clothespins, it seems to have helped out. So now let's scan across the whole band and let's see what's out there.
Some cloudiness. We'll have areas of fog and a shower in spots. Low 52 to 56, cooler at the lakefront. Clouds and breaks of sun.
Segurogenere.com, la forma más... manufactured incentive cash this Wednesday to Sunday.
North at 5. Come media news time 9:15. When searching to buy gold bullion, and you could save up to a whole.
We got a lot at stake. 50% of the CD's value. Oh, it's wrong.
We're not sure what.
Even just using this line cord as an antenna, I'm really amazed at how many stations I'm picking up.
All the ladies in the house say ow. And you don't stop.
There's no bass or treble control on this radio.
bad news.
Well, here's more. Sign up now for qualifying Xfinity.
Alright, now I'll hook up the AM loop antenna and see if we can get the AM to work. Okay, I got the AM loop antenna hooked up. So let's see if that helped. No, it would seem not. Well, maybe it has.
It's required that certain businesses save electronic communication, namely emails or Facebook.
I don't have the dial scale here, it's hard to know where the stations are.
Flagship station ESPN Radio 1000, p2o and Jeff.
Well, now I know that's AM 1000. Yeah, the AM's working for sure. Alright, the Bulls are playing. I should be paying attention to this.
On the left point, Hamilton on a post-up against Holiday. Back it in, curls, wheels, deals, up, out of ball, going left to right. We near the 7-minute mark. Bulls 69-60. Drew Holiday.
Alright, the Bulls are hanging in there. Hey, what do you know? There's my good old friend, the noise at the lower frequency bands. So this set has the same problem. Now, remember, I took that cap off of the line filter, the one that was falling apart, and I did not replace it because I didn't have the right value on hand. But you know what? I do have some .015s, and I'm going to throw one of those in there and see if it makes a difference. Okay, I got the safety cap installed down in here. Let's see if it makes any difference. Still kind of bad, but I haven't grounded the chassis, so give that a try. Recall with my Foco 3930, grounding it made all the difference because that filter cap is going from one side of the AC line to the chassis, but the chassis isn't grounded to earth ground, so it's really not having too much of an impact. So let's see.
He is the executive pastry chef at a real.
Oh yeah, that made a difference. Without. With
actually just a 2-restaurant chain of.
Still noisy, but not as bad. But all my radios are like that. There are certain times, and it's not consistent. There's sometimes, well, it's not consistent with the time of the day. They're just flat out some days the noise isn't as bad, regardless of the time of day. But today seems to be especially bad.
Mr. Green.
But I have concluded it's definitely an issue with noise on the AC line, and having filters and grounding the chassis helps out considerably.
This week on Viewpoints. What was really good?
Slam left, pull it, 14-footer is good. He knocked it down on Lucas. 71-68, the Bulls lead at 3.
So the radio is actually working quite well. We got a few minor issues left to deal with. Got a rusty transformer I'd like to strip and repaint black. Got a little separation on the speaker cone. And then of course the cabinet needs to be fully reupholstered or recoated with Tolex. But otherwise, this is working quite well, I think. So I'm going to call it a wrap for tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed this installment of Friday Night Restorations. I'm gonna go watch the rest of the Bulls game.
Or fight to stay awake while using it.